Some have suggested that banning medical treatments to change the presentation of gender confused kids would take away parents' rights and undermine their authority. So I just wanted to address this a little bit because it's kind of an interesting issue, because we have parental rights on both sides of this issue. The opposition says that parents should have a right to seek medical treatment for their kids that they feel is appropriate. And though generally speaking, we do grant parents the right to do that, there are cases in which we prohibit parents from doing certain things. I think about Munchausen by proxy as a good example. This was something that was in the news when I was probably a teenager, I guess, that parents would actually do things to their children to cause them to need medical interventions. And the courts ruled this is illegal. You can't harm your child in order to seek medical interventions. And the same is true with these treatments, which are harmful. These children have perfectly healthy bodies, and their parents are seeking medical treatment that would harm those perfectly healthy bodies. Puberty blockers, we don't even know what the long-term effects are, but we do know that they undermine brain development, they prevent growth of bones and other structures, and they even can cause death. So this is a pretty serious medication to be used on a healthy body. Cross-sex hormones cause sterilization. They can cause extreme emotional distress, from mood swings to depression to anxiety. A child who becomes addicted to cross-sex hormones will need to use them for the rest of their lives. Oftentimes, cross-sex hormones will atrophy their sex gonads, so they're no longer able to produce natural sex hormones, and so they're basically going to be addicted to these drugs for the rest of their lives. This is a choice a child at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 really isn't capable of making. So parents who are actively trying to get these treatments for their children are basically trying to get treatments for their children that harm their physical bodies. And there's no other case in which we really allow that to happen. We don't even allow parents to give their kids alcohol or drugs. I'm sure that there are some kids who would be much happier if their kids gave them heroin. We don't allow that. So to say that this infringes on parental rights is really erroneous. As we can see, the state does step in to protect children. The other side of this issue is how parental rights are actually being undermined by this agenda. So what's happening is that parents are actually losing custody or threatened with being charged with neglect or abuse if they're not accepting the medical transitioning of their children. This is happening. These parents are being told that if they do not accept and they don't endorse and they don't approve of treatments for their kids, they might lose custody of their kids. So basically the courts are saying if parents don't subject their children to treatments that will harm a functional, healthy body, that they could lose custody of their child. And to me, that's horrifying that the courts would do this, and they're starting to do this. So that is really an undermining of parental authority, and schools are doing this. There are multiple cases where schools are hiding the fact that a child has socially transitioned at school. They're allowing children to go into bathrooms and locker rooms of the opposite sex without telling the parents that that's happening. They're in fact telling children that their parents are the enemy if they don't support this transition. So this is undermining parental authority at home and really causing dissension between parents and their children. So when I hear the opposition say that parents' rights are at stake, so we really need to push back against this idea, first of all, that we're undermining parental rights by preventing children from undergoing these harmful treatments, because there's really no precedent for it. There's no case in which we allow parents to damage their children's bodies or to approve of or endorse of somebody else damaging their healthy children's bodies. We also have to realize that this is directly undermining parental authority. If we're telling children that their parents are the enemy, if schools are hiding information from the parents, if courts are telling parents that if they don't subject their children to harmful interventions, that their children might be taken away from them, it's not appropriate ever to damage a healthy child's body like this.